You think you're the champion? You don't deserve that title.
I earned every second in that ring. You're just jealous of my legacy.
What if I told you WWE hides secrets darker than you ever imagined? Today we uncover a story that shook the wrestling world to its very core. A story of a celebrated champion, an iconic moment, and an act of unspeakable darkness that forced the company that made him a global icon to do something it had never done before: erase him from history. From legendary battles in packed arenas to backstage chaos, this story has everything: betrayal, tragedy, and cover-ups. It's a story that exposes the brutal cost of a dream and asks a chilling question. Can you ever really separate the art from the artist, especially when their final act is one of unimaginable horror? He was on top of the world, but a horrific real-life tragedy would change everything. He was more than a wrestler. Born in Montreal, Canada, Christopher Michael Benoit grew up with one single passion: professional wrestling. His idol was the intense, high-flying British wrestler, the Dynamite Kid. In Dynamite, Benoit saw everything he wanted to be: undersized but ferocious and technically brilliant. This dream led him to the infamous Hart family dungeon in Calgary, where he was forged in a basement gym known for its grueling methods. His early career was a global journey. He became a sensation in New Japan Pro Wrestling as the Pegasus Kid, then moved through Mexico and into the chaotic rings of ECW. It was there he earned the nickname the Crippler after accidentally breaking an opponent's neck. It captured his in-ring persona perfectly: intense, dangerous, and brutally physical. But behind the fame, a darker side lurked. When Chris Benoit arrived in the WWF, he quickly became one of the most decorated champions in the company. He was a wrestler's wrestler, defined by brutal realism. His crowning moment came at WrestleMania DX when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. The image of him and his best friend, Eddie Guerrero, embracing in the ring with tears streaming down their faces, is one of the most emotional moments in wrestling history. But the physical toll of his style was enormous. His signature move was the diving headbutt, a human missile crashing down night after night, delivering a concussive force to himself. Unprotected chair shots to the head were also common, all accumulating damage. The emotional toll was building too, made worse by the tragic death of his best friend Eddie Guerrero in 2005. Friends said he was never the same. He became quieter, a man haunted by loss. This was the moment everything started to unravel. Wrestling isn't just about the ring. The real battles happen behind the scenes. By the mid-90s, Benoit was in WCW, but there was a feeling that he and other smaller talented wrestlers were being held back by a management that preferred bigger stars. That frustration finally boiled over. In January 2000, Chris Benoit, along with his close friends Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn, did the unthinkable. They walked out of WCW and signed with their biggest rival, the WWF. Dubbed the Radicals, their arrival was a massive shot in the Monday Night Wars. For Benoit, it was the final step. He had chased the dream across the world and was now in the land of the giants, ready to prove that the best wrestler didn't have to be the biggest man. A tragedy no one saw coming, but everyone felt. The weekend of June 22, 2007, Benoit was scheduled for 2 shows. He never made it. After sending unusual texts to officials and friends, he went silent. On Monday, June 25th, WWE officials, deeply worried, asked police for a welfare check. What they found inside the Benoit home was a scene of pure horror. The investigation pieced together a chilling timeline. On Friday, June 22nd, Chris Benoit murdered his wife, Nancy. The next day, he murdered his 7-year-old son, Daniel. He placed Bibles by both of their bodies. Then, on Sunday, he took his own life in the basement weight room. As the news first broke, WWE canceled that night's Monday Night Raw and aired a 3-hour tribute celebrating the life and career of Chris Benoit. But as that show was still on the air, the awful details emerged. This wasn't an accident. It was a double murder-suicide. Instead of facing the truth, WWE chose silence and erasure. The very next night, WWE Chairman Vince McMahon appeared on screen and delivered a grim statement. Last night on Monday Night Raw, the WWE presented a special tribute show recognizing the career of Chris Benoit. However, now some 26 hours later, the facts of this horrific tragedy are now apparent. Therefore, other than my comments, there will be no mention of Mr. Benoit's name tonight. Just like that, the erasure began. His name was scrubbed from the website, merchandise pulled, and his history vanished from company archives. Everyone desperately searched for an answer. The media speculated about roid rage, but the real answer was hidden deep inside his brain. At his father's request, Benoit's brain was sent to the Sports Legacy Institute, where researchers found he was suffering from an advanced form of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. They said his brain was so severely damaged it resembled the brain of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. The damage, caused by years of concussions and head trauma, likely led to severe depression and paranoia. This dark chapter sparked a revolution in wrestler safety and awareness. The tragedy forced a long-overdue conversation about the cost of on-screen violence. WWE strengthened its wellness policy, banned unprotected chair shots to the head, and put strict concussion protocols in place. The legacy of Chris Benoit is deeply uncomfortable. There is the legacy of the man, forever defined by the horrific, unforgivable crimes of his final days. And there is the legacy of the tragedy itself, a cautionary tale that ripped the curtain back on the dangers of head trauma in sports and forced an industry to change. The debate still rages. Some argue you must erase a man who did something so evil, while others believe you must separate the art from the artist. Do you think WWE did the right thing, or should the truth always be told? Comment below.